This episode may contain language or discussions that may be offensive or triggering. Refer to the episode summary for details. So, welcome to SheConfidential podcast. My name is Charlene Ketchum, and today I'm here with Miss Brandi Washington. She is a real estate professional based in Georgia. Thank you, Brandi, for being here today. We actually went to high school together.
Yes.
So, people who also went to Lafayette will recognize Brandi, and I haven't seen you like this is as close to in person that I've seen you in 20 years.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me. I really appreciate you having me on.
So
Very
thank you.
grateful.
Yeah, Brandy's in my second home, the state of Georgia, and we
Yeah.
were talking before we started recording about how she arrived or relocated there and everything, and got into the real estate field. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we dive in, today we're going to be talking about this crazy real estate market. A lot of you may have noticed that houses are being sold much faster than they have in the past, that
Mhm.
people are doing some really outlandish, outrageous things to try to get offers approved. It's just absolute insanity. So, we're going to talk about what's
Mhm.
happening right now. And for those of you who are prospective buyers and sellers, we'll talk about what you might want to do and might want to consider in this current market. We'll talk about what you might want to think about just in general, even when this current boom levels out, just basic
Mhm.
considerations that people need to think about when you're buying or selling your home. We're going to talk about the value of a real estate professional, or should you just
Mhm.
do it on your own? We
Right.
will also talk about where you can follow and find Brandi for real estate advice. And if you want her to be your real estate professional, we'll talk about where you can locate her as well. So before we
Right.
launch into the meat of the conversation, Brandi, I would
Yes.
like you to share some entertaining stories, if you have any, related to what have you heard about the crazy things that people have been doing over the past year or so.
Um, yeah, so the biggest thing which most people know is the overpaying for property. Like sellers are really taking advantage of the market right now because there is not enough inventory. So buyers are going over and beyond. I've seen anywhere from 10,000, which is pretty normal, to like 70, $80,000 or $1,000 over asking price. So yeah, so it's been insane. Not only that, but typically when we're representing a buyer, you can go in and ask for like certain things like no closing cost, or maybe if the seller can pay part of the closing cost, or maybe a buyer may go into a home and see certain things that needs to be done, and we as the agent will negotiate for them. There's not really many options for that anymore because that person
Mm.
will get outbidded at this time just because there's so many buyers. So, sellers are like, hey, I'd rather go with somebody who is not asking me for anything and willing to pay over asking price. So yeah,
Wow.
it's been crazy. Very
So
crazy.
asking for things can get you eliminated.
Oh, absolutely. You don't ask for anything these days. I mean, so okay, so having a professional, what we do is we look at certain things. So we'll look at, for example, days on the market. If this is like a new listing and we're reviewing the property on like day one or day two, it'll be hard to ask for things because more than likely the seller wants the house to sit for a while and get more offers. But if this
Okay.
house has been sitting for maybe like 20 days in this market, that's a long time. So there may be, room to negotiate there. But for the most part, nothing is sitting because there's not much inventory. Like
Yeah.
nothing is sitting. It's just crazy. So, yeah.
That when you said 80,000 over, so how does that happen? Are the homes just originally being listed much higher, or is that in addition to the over the higher listings? Because like I follow a lot of things on Zillow. So my friends,
Hmm.
everybody who knows me, because I sent people would think I'm like a multimillionaire because I'm just attracted to these homes that are like
Right.
$1
They're
homes.
beautiful, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're beautiful, and they have in bathrooms and kitchens. That's what
Yes.
sells them, and
Yeah.
outdoor dining spaces. And so I'll
Hmm.
see these homes, and because I look at houses weekly, I subscribe to alerts. I'm not
Hmm.
in the market for a $1 million house. but
Right.
this is what I do on the regular. So when I notice these prices going up, I'm like, oh my God, that's not what that house was going for 2 years ago.
Right.
So at
Yeah.
least in the St. Louis market, I can see that they're listing things higher. But are you
Mhm.
saying that in addition to the higher listing prices, people are also
Paying
paying?
over. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, sometimes you can work with the seller and let them know like, hey, we're looking at the appraised value for the homes that are in the area. So we look at the solds because those are like facts. So you may see like the last 6 months, the home down the street has sold for this amount. That's your comp or your comparable. And so we go off of that price, and that's the price that we want the seller to go with. However, because homes are selling so quickly, a lot of sellers are thinking like, "Hey, I know if I list this property, I can get at least $40,000 over. So can we start at a higher price?" So it just depends on whether or not you're able to work with that seller and bring that price down, or start high. So yeah, we're seeing both sides. People are still going over, even if it's listed too high.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess you got to do what you got to do to get the house.
Yeah. And then another thing is like I always have people who are looking to invest, especially in
Mhm.
Atlanta. There's people, from home, St. Louis, people from all over, and people that are here that are looking to invest. Even the wholesale properties are overpriced. Like, I mean, they might as well just be on the market like everything else because they're just completely overpriced. So when people ask me for a deal, this is not your you know 2007, 8. You can't find anything for $50,000, $60,000. I mean, and especially in Atlanta, the cost of living is rising, the value of homes are rising. So yeah, everything is expensive. Rent's going up too. Everything's expensive. So yeah.
And I appreciate you mentioning that because a lot of people don't realize how this is all connected. I was having
Mm-hmm.
that conversation with a buddy of mine, and she was saying, that the rent seemed to be up in St. Louis. And I said, well, it's because of the house home prices. She's like, well, those are two
Yeah.
different things. Like, no, because the price of the affordability of a home is out of reach for a lot of people
Right.
right now.
Yeah,
And so that
exactly.
means they're being, and then you couple that with the low inventory, which is what is the
Hmm.
big things contributing to the fact that
Right.
we've got this housing shortage and everything. But this is pushing more people into being remaining renters. And so
Yes.
you end up having more demand there. It's a supply and demand issue on both sides
Yes.
of it.
And that in itself is going to cause inflation. And so
Yeah.
we talk about that like in the real estate world. What it means is if interest rates start to rise, which they will rise because it's like you have this huge
Mhm.
demand and not enough supply, then what happens with the buyers in the future is they're going to lose buying power because rates are going to go up. So the amount that they can afford, just say for example, if it's $200,000, if rates go up 1%, it now may be 180. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of
Mm.
a hard decision.
Yeah.
It's like, should I buy now because rates may go up, or should I
Mhm.
wait? And we don't have a crystal ball to know exactly. We can just, pretty much look at where we are today and, historically what happens over time. Rates will rise. It will. So, yeah.
Have you encountered any prospective buyers who said, you know what, I can't do these prices.
Yes.
I'm gonna wait.
Yep. Yeah. I have.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had several. Yeah, I've had several. And I would say this, I feel like if you're in a position to want to buy, people have to relocate, people have to expand, maybe they're expanding their families, they just had a
Mhm.
child, or maybe they're taking in a parent or something like that. I feel like if there is a need, I don't want people to not be encouraged to still make the attempt because we're still making things happen. Like I'm an agent, I negotiate, I'm gonna fight for you. If you want it, I'm all in. So if you're in a position to where you must buy, I would still say buy. But if you're in a position to where it's like, I don't know, I'm just kind of on the fence right now. I don't have to buy right now. And then I would say if your price point is lower, it may be more challenging. Like just say, for example, under 200,000 may be more challenging because those properties are going to, most of them are going to need repairs. There are some good properties that come on the market, but they go so quickly. And so what happens is you're competing with investors. So depending on like what kind of
Mm,
product you have, because you know you have FHA, you have conventional, you have all these different loan products, and it's harder for a person who's FHA who may not have the best credit to be able to get picked first
mhm.
because first the sellers want to go with cash. That's going to be number one because it's cash, it's quick. And
Yeah.
then they do conventional because it's not as many things or restrictions that need to be done. Then they go down the line. So it's a little discouraging for some buyers, I would say, that are like in that low, like 150, 140, 160 price point because you know you may be shopping for properties, but you have to be strong and hang in there because people will come and you will be in some bidding wars possibly. um, but again, if you must do it, I say do it because I've worked with people where I can maybe look in my office and see a property before it even hits the market and negotiate with something with another agent. um, or because I'm a part of so many different groups, like real estate groups, I know people. So I can't guarantee it though, but I mean if I see something, you're my client, then of course I'm going to look out for you. So but I have had people that we're just like, no, I'm gonna wait because this is a crazy market, and they just choose to put everything on hold. And we always let them know we don't know, we don't have a crystal ball, so I can't tell you your rate's not gonna shoot up when you're ready. But if it's you have to do what's comfortable for you, But I just don't want people to like not like lose the dream of like getting there. It's like no, you're gonna get there. If it's something you want, let's go for it. If you want to wait, then that's on you. But I'm here whenever you're ready. So,
Yeah, you brought up
yep.
several like good points, and I should have been jotting them down. So hopefully I don't forget them.
No, that's
So
okay.
the first is so you had mentioned that a lot of the 20 days is a long time for a house to be on the market. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so for the average buyer, how long is it taking in general for them to find a home since these homes for sale are going so quickly?
Oh gosh. It just depends. It ranges. Like there's some people that have been shopping for months. Because everybody's different. So
Yeah.
you have the individual buyer who it's like, is this person very particular about what they want? I must be in this area. I must have this. I must have that.
Mhm.
Um, it may take them a little bit longer if they
Okay.
don't, you know, but if they see how this market is and they're like, oh, yeah, I missed like three opportunities because I didn't move forward, like, let me jump on it. So, like, you have a range, like, I would say on average, um, uh, maybe like a couple months, maybe. It could be a lot sooner. It could be longer too. It just depends on what they're looking for, how patient they are, how quickly they need to move. If it's something that you need like tomorrow, you're going to be aggressive and I'll be aggressive with you. But if you're like, nah, I don't really want that, this is off, or this bedroom is too small or whatever, then, it'll take a lot longer. So it just depends on the person. But I would say the time frame from moving the transaction forward is probably a good, once we find something, I would say that's probably a good 30 days or so. And then I have lenders that can do a couple weeks. Some of them can close in like a couple weeks. So that portion doesn't take that long.
Okay. So that doesn't sound like that's changed because that
Yeah,
was one
that's
of my
pretty much
next
the same.
questions. So,
Yeah.
okay. So even though we've got this craziness with the home sales, how is it
Hmm.
impacting the whole lending process? And that was going to be my next question. Does that mean that is it taking longer for people to close, or has that part of the process been unaffected by this?
Um, I don't think it's really been affected. Yeah, I feel that lenders are getting more savvy to make it like they're competing with other lenders, so they are trying to make it a quick and easy process. So I have lenders that I work with that can get it done in 2 weeks. I have a hard money lender that can get it done in 1 week. Um, and then that's basically like, it's like cash. It's not exact. It's still a loan, but so yeah, I mean, then there's the typical 30 days, but unless there's like, if there's a buyer that maybe is doing a program, like maybe a first time home buyer program,
Mhm.
with the county or with some type of organization, then because there's like approval through the lender and approval through that program, that is probably about 45 days plus. And
Okay.
so when I meet with the client, I typically do like a consultation with them, and I'll see where they are and what they can afford. And if they have to go through the program, I'll let them know realistically, this is where we are. It's going to take on average 45 days. So it kind of messes with the negotiating power a little bit, but then there's other ways I can make up for it with the deal. Like I can sweeten something else in the deal to make it work for the seller. So,
And so you've
yeah.
sprinkled in a lot of the things that you can do as a real
Yeah.
estate professional.
Uh-huh.
So I want to jump ahead and talk about the benefits of hiring a real estate professional versus doing it, selling the property on your own. What are some of the pros and cons to it?
Oh gosh. I mean, I mentioned to you before, I'm like, would you go to the doctor, or would you just try to, if you have something going on that you feel is serious, would
Hmm.
would you just try to diagnose yourself? It's like, this is the biggest transaction of your life. You're probably not
Hmm.
going to spend more on anything else. Um, Not a car. I mean, unless it's a very expensive car. So this house is like super important, and you want somebody who is going to be on your side and walk you through the process and educate you and fight for
Hmm.
you and negotiate for you. And we're trained to do that. So, like, like reviewing the contracts, making sure that you're protected. I even tell my clients, if they're looking for a new construction, sometimes they go to the site and it's like, oh, and the person who's on site will, they'll wow you and say, oh yeah, come on, I'll take you in. And it's like, that person is representing the builder. So you have to understand that whatever they put in that contract is going to assist them with this transaction. They're not really looking at you. So you still let them know that you're represented so I can review the contract for you. So I feel like with discount brokers, we have a lot of online companies like Open Door and the Zillows and things like that. And nothing against them. It's nothing like having your own personal person that you can contact and ask questions to. And you
Hmm.
can grab them and say, hey, can you review this for me? Versus going through a system. And I'll just give the flip side. Like because I represent buyers and sellers. I do listings and I help buyers get into properties as well. I do deal with Open Door and Zillow and all these other companies. And because they're discount brokers, they typically don't have an agent that's there to talk to you. When I call and I'm like, hey, I want to I'm a people's person. I like to make connection with the other agent. When we're walking through the transaction, it's a team. Like we're a team. Even though they're on the other side, we still have to work together to make sure that we can both get our clients, to the
Hmm.
table, and it's going to be fair for each client. But with these other companies, they don't have a person that's an agent who's going to talk to you. So it's like everything you must
Hmm.
have in writing. You got to send the emails, you got to go through the system. And then there's just a representative who is not licensed, who can't speak on my level because they're not even licensed. So they can give me some information, but they're not going to give me any
Hmm.
details. So it's just, I feel like you're missing that whole piece when you go with the online companies. Again, it's nothing against them. I just know how much time and energy we put in to make sure that we provide like amazing service to our clients, and to have that person who's there to walk you through and, like I said, be available to you throughout the entire thing is like, it's invaluable.
Yeah, and you mentioned other resources that you provide that I hadn't even thought about when you talked about the different associations you belong to, and
Hmm.
how, as a real estate professional, you're seeing some listings before they might
Yeah.
be on,
Hmm.
Zillow. So
Mhm.
there's that advantage because if you're, I know it was years ago when I purchased my home, but I knew what I wanted and I thought, well, I don't need a real estate agent, but I'm that person when it comes to anything remotely legal. I want to
Mhm.
hire the people who that's what they do. And
Right.
so I
Exactly.
hired an agent.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
amazing because I thought I was finding on top of everything. But my
Yeah.
agent, he found the house for me in less than a week.
Mhm.
I mean, she was on top of everything and
Right.
just having that. And I don't know if it was because she got the listings that you mentioned that you all get before they hit all the databases, or if it was
Right.
through contacts, but just the value that a person gets from the benefit of all of your professional relationships. Your client
Right.
gets the benefit
Yes.
of all of your professional relationships.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that's huge. And then I didn't realize that you until you said it, I didn't realize that you work so closely with the other agent
Yeah.
because that's another huge benefit because
Mhm.
as a layperson, I mean, even as an attorney, I'm not a real estate attorney. And
Right.
so I wouldn't know how to I wouldn't know what I was missing. I
Mhm.
wouldn't know what I could ask for. And
Right.
so
Exactly.
hearing that you all work closely together, and I'm sure there's some sort of, it's just, it's a different level of respect when you're
Mhm.
dealing with a colleague because we both know, I know you know how
Right.
this going goes. And so
Mhm.
that's a whole nother benefit to it as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and then just think about it. Like if you're like with the, there's like Open Door, there's all these other companies that will allow the buyer now to go to the property and review the property on their own. And my whole thing is like, do you know what you're looking for? Because there's some things that we can point out that you will know nothing about. I can be like, yeah, their roof is about this amount of years, or, the HVAC is shot, it needs to be replaced,
Mhm,
or I can see a puddle in the back and, something going off the gutters or whatever it is. And
mhm,
because of the level of experience and exposure and all of what I do, I go to my clients' inspections and things like that. And I talk with the inspectors and, learn all types of things about the house. Like in most cases, the buyer who's just going and looking at it from their eyes are just kind of focused on what they're looking for. I need, like you said, nice kitchen.
yep,
I'm saying my bathroom must be
yeah,
nice, and my bedroom, it must have, like those things are the focal point. But there's so much more that we look for to make sure that we're protecting the client. So you don't have
absolutely.
that if you just walk in on your own.
Yeah, especially first time home buyers or people who just aren't handy with those sort of things. I know when I first bought my house, and I'm still not handy. I pay people to do everything. I have no
Right.
interest in learning to do most of the things.
I got
But
you.
my real estate agent was amazing because she came to
Hmm.
my inspection, like you mentioned, and she
Hmm.
told the inspector she's a first time home buyer. Can
Hmm.
you talk to her about the maintenance that'll be needed, on this? And then
Yeah.
she pointed different things out to me. She asked questions that I wouldn't have known to ask.
Hmm.
And when we
Right.
went and looked at some properties that I thought I was going to love, she
Hmm.
said, "Okay, I just want to point this out to you."
Yeah.
And those things were coming from her years of experience. And
Yeah.
that's a huge, like you said, this is the biggest investment for most people in their
Absolutely.
lifetime. And it's a
Absolutely.
legal
Yeah.
obligation.
Yes.
It's like
Absolutely.
you gotta sell the property to get rid of it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's a big deal. So why do you think that people are drawn to selling their homes on their own?
Price is discounted. So typically, with hiring a professional real estate agent or realtor to sell, it costs.
Mhm,
But what they don't know is we can make up for the price that they're going to be paying, because we can get it for more. We can sell it for more
mhm,
if we're able to do the things that we need to do to prep the home for the market. So, like where you may be looking at, well, I don't want to pay this percent. I can go over here, or I could do it myself, and this company would give me the tools I need, and it would only be like 1% I have to pay them versus the 3% I pay you. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, are they coming in? Are they looking at the property to make sure that everything is in order before the home goes on the market? Everything's clean. All your personal pictures that you have on the walls are removed with your family and things that people you typically wouldn't think about because you're like, well, my home is clean, it's all together. But it's like, well, we can't have people looking at you and your family and making a judgment, based on what they see. And now they see your family. And not just that, but for protection purposes and things like that. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
we lay out everything to make sure that we can get the best price possible for the client. But yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part, it's people want the discount. They don't want to pay as much. But again, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's like we can make up for it. So I still say talk to somebody, maybe have a couple of agents that that can come in and just let you know what they offer, because there's still some agents that that offer a discount service and they still won't do the work that we do. Like I'm a person to go over and beyond. I'll knock on doors. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just putting a sign in the yard. I'm making phone calls, circle prospecting, which is calling the neighbors, letting them know what's going on, having open houses. Like there's so much more that goes into it. So you can get more eyes on the property to get the highest price possible. Because what you want to do is have a bidding war. You want people to be fighting over the property because that's going to drive the price up and up, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so you've described a lot of the things, the services that you provide as a real estate professional. So can you walk me through first, how does somebody find a real estate professional? Now I know word of mouth
Mhm.
is always the best way to find someone, but if you don't know anybody or if you've got several recommendations, how do you
Mhm.
vet those different recommendations? What questions should people be asking to determine who's the best fit for them?
Okay. Well, I would say you can. So I work with Keller Williams. So whenever someone comes to me, even though I may not be in their state, like we're everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's either I know somebody. Of course, I know somebody. I know people in St. Louis because St. Louis is my hometown. But I have connections in Florida, in different places. So we can always refer people to a good agent, and there's agents everywhere. I would just say if you know a couple, maybe and maybe like a friend of a family or something like that, um, you can interview them along with maybe a couple other people, and then you just see like who's a good fit for you. You definitely want to have somebody who is knowledgeable about the area. They are passionate about what they do. Um, I would say this is their primary job. And I did start off part time. So but I would still say if you have the time, like if you're an agent and you're doing this full time, this means this is the only thing that you're doing. And I think that's very important to have somebody who's just focused on, you know, real estate.
Yeah.
So those are a few, I guess, key things to look for when you're looking for an agent.
And what should
And then
people
of
expect?
course the service, I mean, it has to be somebody who's gonna provide the service. And with
Mhm.
me, like for every single client, I have a consultation because I can't service you if I don't really know what your needs are. And it will help me to know how to communicate with you. Do you like to be text? You want me to email you? I give you my schedule. I look at your schedule. We just make sure that we're a good fit for each other. So like that consultation is very important. And I mean, of course, it includes the stuff
Mhm.
about the house, like where do you want to buy, how many bedrooms and baths, what's important to you, like what would make this your dream home, like all of that stuff is included. So somebody who can actually take the time to sit down and have those type of conversations with you before they get started.
Yeah, because again, it's the biggest investment of your life. So
It is.
you got to trust that person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to be able to trust them. And so, what should people expect when they first start that process? So, let's probably separate for buyers and sellers. So, for a
Hmm.
buyer and they secure your services, what's the next step after they do the consultation? What kind of preparation do they need to do before they meet with you? And
Right.
what do they need to expect to do after?
I would say for anybody that's thinking about buying, the first thing is making sure that their credit is okay. Meaning, I would say, and there's programs that can go lower than this, but I would say at least a 640. At
Mhm.
least a 640. Now there are some that would do 600, but you just have to keep in mind that you want to have like good options, and you want to make sure that you have a good rate. And so the lower your score is, you can only get into like maybe one or two products. But when your score is higher, then you have more options. You can get into more programs and things like that, opportunities that can maybe help you with down payments,
Yeah.
assistance. So I would say definitely making sure that your score is pretty decent. And then once I meet with them, what I do is I'll match them with the loan officer. So if they sometimes people come in with a loan officer, and the loan officer may send them my way, and sometimes they don't. And so if they don't already have a loan officer, because I'm not the money person, I typically match
Mhm.
them with somebody, and I have several people that I work with. And then the loan officer will like cover their debt to income ratio, will they'll cover like the affordability and things like that, like what
Mhm.
price point they can afford. So they'll pretty much be the ones to issue a pre-approval letter to let me know, hey, this person can afford this dollar amount of house. And they'll pretty much walk with them through just getting their documents together, their tax returns and w-2s and bank statements and all their documents that they need. If there's something that needs to be done, like payment plans and things like that, the loan officer will pretty much let them know that too. And then by the time they get back to me, they'll have a pre-approval. And so at that point, we'll be ready to go shopping. And
Perfect.
so that's the happy part. Like that's the part I'm excited about. The buyer's
Yeah.
excited about, because now we can like actually start looking at properties. So if
Mhm.
once they come and they have that, I'll sit down, and like I said, if I haven't already done a consultation to know what areas you're looking in, what are you looking for exactly, you know, I'll set up something so that, we can actually go out shopping. And then that's when we choose a property, I negotiate for them based on, whatever home they find that they love, and then we work it from there.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
you're
the
with
whole
them
time
through the
they're
closing.
huh?
And so you're with them through closing.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, we find the property, we get the inspection done. Once the home is approved and the seller gives the green light, that we can move forward. And that's something else that's important, because the inspectors, you mentioned something about your agent being able to help doing the inspection. Like I make sure that my inspectors educate my clients. Like I don't work with anybody who's not going to sit down with
Mhm.
them and really walk them through the property, because this is their home and they need to know what's
Yep.
going on with it. So with inspections, it is a little scary, because inspectors are going to tell you everything that's
They
wrong,
sure
and
do.
that's their job. So I mean, but
Lord,
most
yes, they do.
yeah, I mean, they'll tell you, "Hey, the scratch on the wall over here." I mean, it'll just be very detailed. You're like, "Wow, okay." But there's their job to let them know everything, and then we'll decipher what's really important, like the foundational issues and things like that.
Mhm.
And that's where my part really comes in, is negotiating to make sure that all of that important stuff is taken care of for my client. And then from there, if everything is a go, once I negotiate and the seller signs off saying they're going to repair whatever it is, then we move forward and then we get the appraisal done. So then the appraiser comes in, tells the home value, and hopefully it's at least what the buyer is paying, and if not, I'll get it lowered and do what I have to do. But the appraisal is very important, because the house has to appraise in order to move forward. Um,
One question about
and
the appraisal, real quick.
uh-huh,
So with the home prices being priced higher than normal,
yeah,
and with some people paying over that, how is that impacting appraisals?
that's a good question. So there that's a really good question, because now you do have some agents that are waiving the appraisal too.
I've heard
Um,
that.
it's so I mean, it's all up to the buyer. The buyer doesn't
Mhm.
have to move forward if the house doesn't appraise. So it's like, if the
Mhm.
buyer is like, I don't want to walk in a house with negative equity, because basically
Yeah.
that's what you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, I'm perfectly fine with terminating, because we'll have some
Mhm.
type of contingency to make sure that we protect the buyer. based on the
Mhm.
home appraising. However,
Mhm.
if the person is like, I love this house, it's my dream house, and it's $10,000 over,
Mhm.
what it appraised for, I'm willing to make
Mhm.
that payment.
Okay.
Depending on their loan product, if it's conventional, um, of course, hard money, you can do that. People with cash don't care about it. If it's a cash offer, they typically don't get the appraisal done at all. But some
Yeah.
people are paying over the appraised value, and some people are writing, some agents are writing contracts to have it waived for their clients. So
Yeah.
yeah, in this market, that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's up to the buyer, I mean, if they want it that bad, then we can make it happen,
Mhm.
but I just let them know it's not worth that today. It doesn't, it'll catch up at some point. So as long as they're not looking to sell in like a few years, it may
Yeah.
be worth it for them. Mhm.
So sorry for interrupting you, but you
No,
mentioned
you're
the appraisal,
fine.
and I was like, oh, let me ask her about this.
No, that's a good question because it's crazy. This market today is crazy. So you're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had heard that, and I forgot about it until you mentioned appraisals, and I was like, let me ask Brandy. So
Yeah.
yes, I do hear that some of those are being waived. So if it's whatever it takes, is what somebody said to me, whatever it takes to get this
Yeah.
house, and they
Yes.
paid over, they did whatever it took to get that house, and they're happy. And so
Right.
it's about, I'm sure the seller is very happy, so it's about what you can afford to do and what's going to make you
Mhm.
happy now and years from now. Because I like
Right.
that you mentioned that patience, just
Mhm.
knowing you may not have that equity in the home now, but if this is everything that you want and you're willing to be patient, it may catch up to that. But we don't have a
Right.
crystal ball, so there are no
Yes.
guarantees.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So I interrupted you, and so now I have to remember where you
So
were.
I think I was on the appraisal, which is near the end of the process. So once that is done, again, the buyer is still working directly with the lender to provide documentation. They'll do another credit check and things like that, and then we'll have title ordered by the closing attorney. That's typically done, and hopefully at that point that will be in, and then we'll be ready to move forward to closing. And so, yeah, I mean, if there's any issues along the way, that's just the long and short of it. It's the brief version of it. But yeah, I mean, if all checks out, then we can move to closing.
And
And if
so
there's
for
any issues,
sellers,
huh?
how's
What'd you
that
say?
process different for a seller? So what should a seller be doing before they meet with you? And are there any distinctions to the process for them?
So for the seller, um, the biggest thing is, I would say, preparing the home to go on the market. So we don't really come in, well, it just depends. You can hire an agent to do a lot of the prep work ahead of time, but typically we give a
Mm.
list of what we want the seller to do, and then when the seller has everything done, then we come in and we put the home on the market.
Okay.
So the biggest thing is just making sure that, you know, the home is ready, because that can make the difference. So it's making sure it's cleaned, and if it needs to be staged, it's staged, certain items removed.
Mhm.
There may be some repairs that may need to be done. And depending on the seller, they may or may not be able to afford that. And we'll price it accordingly. But the better off it is, like ready, if it's ready, we're going to probably get a better price for it. So that preparation is really, really important. And we try to make sure that the sellers know, it's important to have it in a condition where people are ready to move in, if possible, because you're going to get the price that you're looking for. Because a lot
Right.
of times seller, they overprice the house, and they're like, oh, I want this dollar amount, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not worth that, and then we have to look at, yeah, we have to look at the homes that sold next door, and it's like
Yeah.
all upgraded with granite and have all this, stainless steel appliances and new
Hmm.
floors, hardwood floors, and all of this, and it's like, and you have carpet, you haven't did any updates since 1999. It's not, it's not the
Yeah, I know
same.
you love your house, but they don't love it like that.
Exactly. It's like, so if a buyer is shopping and going next door and then they coming over here, they're gonna really choose that home because you
Hmm.
overprice this when you're asking for the same exact price and it's not worth that. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's going through that and allowing them to see. I've even had it where I've taken my sellers to properties and shown them their
Mhm.
competition. So if a home down the street is listed, it's on your same street, same amount of bedrooms and baths, we need to take a visit. Then that way you can see this home is
Mhm.
all together, it's all renovated, but yet you want to price this over this home. It's like so all of that is important. I mean, again, the goal is, to make sure our clients are happy. So it's
Yeah.
not to, lowball them or anything like that. Like we want to get
Right.
the most amount that we possibly can for the seller because we want the seller to be happy. But we want to
Right.
make sure that they're being realistic with the price and everything too. So
Okay.
that preparation, I would say, is very important. We typically have them work with the attorneys to make sure that you know the mortgage amount, payoff amounts, and just certain documentation is in. But the biggest part is like getting it ready, and then once it goes on the market, in all honesty, for a seller, it's not, and even for me, it's not that difficult to get through the transaction because the buyer is doing all the work. They're the ones that have to get the inspection done. Now, the
Mhm.
seller will have to be willing to negotiate repairs and things like that. And I normally tell my sellers, like, it's typical for buyers to ask for this stuff. Because they're thinking that you've lived in the home all this time. Why should they have to come in and pay for, I don't know, a new HVAC system that's about to go out or is out or whatever it is.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like, so I kind of give the expectations of where they should be. And at the end of the day, it's really up to them. Some of them can
Yeah.
say, I don't want to pay for anything. I don't want to pay for any repairs. And they have a right to say that.
Yeah.
So I mean, we just give them, we educate them and let them know, like, here are your options. This is what most buyers look for. Some of them look for closing costs, to help. They may have the loan, but they don't have the cash on hand to pay for closing. So you willing to allow them to, you know, have those funds to pay for closing because again, for the seller, it's coming out of their proceeds for closing. It's not like they have to have cash for that.
Right. Right.
So, um, and well, I not all agents are the same, but the way I run my business, I'll pay for the photos and things like that for my clients. I'll get that done. I have a partner that does staging if they need staging done, and like I said, putting it on the market, and from there, the buyer's agent will pretty much do the work. They'll come in, they'll show their client, and if the client like it, they'll write an offer. So it's really not a hard process for sellers outside of preparing the home for the
Okay.
market. Hmm.
Which that in itself can be a beast. But people can contact the real estate professional first, and you can come in and tell them exactly what needs to be done. They don't have to play a
Yes.
guessing game.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. Yeah, I mean,
Excellent.
we'll give them a detailed list. Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes.
that's excellent. Yes. And then people just have to listen. Listen
Hmm.
to the professionals.
It's a team, it's a team effort. So it's like we need we want our clients to walk away happy, and it's like, because we are the professionals, like we know what sells, we know what things need to look like. So yes, it's like, let's sit down, let's go through this, and then we can cover some different options that make sense for them. Because like I said, some people may not have the funds to be able to, do staging or some repairs. And it's like, as long as they understand that we just have to make sure that the house is priced accordingly so that it
Yeah.
sells quickly. And I let my sellers know anything that sits for a week with no offers is a problem. And in all honesty, in this market, if I don't have an
Yeah.
offer in 3 days, that's probably meaning that we're overpriced
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't exist. You
No.
know, it doesn't. I mean, we can look at stats. I'll show them like, hey, this house down the street was on the market for this amount of days, 20 offers or whatever it is.
Hmm.
So then that way it can make it like realistic for them.
Yeah. I'm not even seeing as many open houses right
Yeah.
now. It's like, do they not have to do open houses anymore?
You know what? I think because the homes are selling so fast that
Yeah.
agents are just sure that it's going to sell. So you don't have to. And then there's so many buyers that, some people are not like looking for buyers because buyers are coming to them.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could do it, I try to do it. I know COVID has stopped a lot of the open houses
Yes.
too.
Yes.
And then some sellers are uncomfortable with that, depending on whether or
Yeah.
not they're living in the property. If they're living in it, they may not want the open house. Some of
Yeah.
them are okay with it and some aren't. So it just depends. But with COVID, it's
Mhm.
like you don't see it as much, and then inventory being so low in the first day or two, there'll be offers on the property already.
Right. Yes. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the interesting. I used to go to open houses just because I'm always house hunting.
Yeah,
And I know that COVID put a stop to it, but I wondered, is it because things are just going so fast? It's like I'll see
yeah,
something listed and the next day it's like, oh, they've got an offer already. Somebody's taking my house.
right,
So yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I
it's
mean, I still like to do them if the client will allow me to do it. I love open houses. I mean, it to me it gets more eyes on the property,
yes.
and I do it as a strategy to just get more buyers out. So I'll do like maybe a new listing on a Thursday, and then I may not accept any offers until Sunday after the open house. And then that way, it's like you have enough options for the seller where it's like, all right, everybody, these group of people have seen the home. Agents have had an opportunity to come in and show their clients. Now we have 20 offers and let's choose the best offer. So, and they're fun to me too. So I enjoy doing them.
I enjoyed going to them too.
I mean, because you can see the home and it's like,
Yeah,
you can like see it and feel it and be
yeah,
able to like be in it.
yeah,
So it's nice.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. I agree. So, any tips for people who may be thinking about buying or selling a home next year? Is there a certain time of the year that's the best time for them to do it? And I know everything's kind of crazy right now with this market, so all the
Yeah.
old rules may not apply. But for
Yeah.
those who will be thinking that's coming up in the next 12 months, what would you advise?
So I would say that typically the spring and the summer is always the busiest for us
Hmm.
because you have before school and all of that happening, and then it's the warmer months that people want to move. They don't really want to move in the winter. So that's always busy, but I would say I've been busy in different times. Some winters I have been busier than the summer. So I just feel like if it's your time based on your circumstance, or if you feel that it's just a need right now where you're like, hey, I wanna I'm tired of paying rent. Rent is going up
Hmm.
and my lease is about to end, and
Hmm.
I don't want to jump into another lease because it's going to be additional, however much. I would say just the best thing to do is really just talk to an agent, because here in Atlanta, like, rent is more than some mortgage payments.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
Hmm.
to me, it makes sense for a person to at least look at the option to purchase, because this is your property. You own it, you build equity, and there's just so much that you can do with that, with you being a homeowner versus you just paying rent to somebody. So I would say, like, before you just say no, like, at least have a chance to sit down with somebody and say, hey, this is where I am. My lease ends here. I have stable income. My credit is good. I'm thinking about purchasing.
Hmm.
What does it look like for me right now? And I would say if you give yourself at least 6 months, that's plenty of time to work out anything. If you have issues with credit, or you just want more information on some things, or if you were to get a down payment assistance program, you would have a chance to go through that and get whatever you need from the lender, and just for proper planning purposes. Like, it's just 6 months is good.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, I would just say sit with an agent and see if it's something that makes sense for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're
You have
welcome.
so much information, and I love that. I love that you're very hopeful. Your hopeful approach and really positive approach. It's not just like a business transaction,
Yeah,
because a lot
no,
of the things you talked about, just people being happy and just doing what's going to make them happy and fulfilled. And that's, I mean, your home, aside from it being one of the biggest investments you'll ever make, it's a big deal.
it's a
Like,
huge
that's your
deal.
private space. That's like your
And it's
comfort
yours.
space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you own it. You know, nobody
Yeah.
can like take that away from you. Like you own it.
Yeah.
So, I haven't met a person who's purchased that regret purchasing. Not one
Yeah.
person. And
Yeah.
even for me, like when I purchased my condo years ago, like
Mhm.
when I tell you it was the best decision, I was like, whew, this right here was probably the smartest thing I've done. Just
Yeah.
because like I'm seeing rent go up and I'm like, yeah, my payment is still the same. Thank God, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I just think there's so many benefits with the tax benefit. And like I said, you build equity. You can turn that equity into something where you can maybe start a business or pay off something or do renovations. And it's like your property. Like you make it whatever you want to make it. And I just feel like people, I mean, we still have that dream. You still have that right to, to
Mhm.
get into something. And then, investing is important too. Like I deal with
Mhm.
investors. That was something I wanted to bring up too. So I have a guy that has a program that he helps people who are new investors. I used to have a lot of people come to me, and I still do, that are like, hey, I want to invest, need to get started, but they don't have a team of contractors. They don't really know where to
Yeah.
start. And this guy he's phenomenal. And what he does is he'll walk the person through their first three transactions and he'll give them access to his contractors. So plumbers, electricians, whoever, all type of general
Mhm.
contractors, interior designers, whatever you need for that project. And then he and I work together, and so I'll be the one to make sure that if this person, like if the person who's purchasing, if they want to flip the property, because you can do a flip or you can do a buy and
Mhm.
hold, which is like maybe a rental or something like that. And there's some people that do Airbnbs now because they're so popular too.
Yeah.
Um, but he will walk them through that entire process, and I will be the one to pretty much negotiate for them when they're getting the property, and then I'll sell it for them or rent it out or what have you. And so I like that there's somebody out there that can do that, because before
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody. I'm like, if you don't have your own team, I can find the property, no problem. I'll find it for
Right.
you. But I have some contractors, but I don't have like this whole program together like he has it. So he's not only my partner, he's also a client. So he's purchasing property too, for his own inventory, and he does really well. So that's something that I'm offering people who are new investors, and they're like, "Hey, I wanna get started with investing. Like, what should I do?" So he's
That's
a good
awesome.
resource. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's awesome. And you mentioned that you also manage a property rental, so you do property management as well.
No, we can't do both, unfortunately.
Okay.
So what
Okay.
I do is I can lease the property. So just say for example, if you are selling and or you want to rent your property, I
Okay.
can find a tenant for you. So I can
Okay.
put it on the market and I can market it as a rental property. But
Okay.
unfortunately, if you hold a real estate license, they won't let you do property management at the same time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. But you could definitely help with the first part in terms of the listing, securing the
Yes.
tenant, and then they can just find another property management company.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
finding the tenant, putting it on the market. I have software that will help with the credit checks and all of that stuff, running the backgrounds. Um, at the end of the day, I do recommend that my clients do take some type of landlord class and, just get really familiar with what that looks
Mhm.
like as you now being a landlord.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other piece of it, I do it with no problem. I've done several of them. So
Excellent. So you
yeah,
do a lot. So let's highlight all the services that you provide and then make sure the audience knows where they can find you, contact you, and collaborate with you.
yeah. So, one other thing before we do that, I do want to mention this because this is something that I think will benefit a lot of the clients from everywhere. So, I mentioned before we started, I used to work for NACA. NACA is a home ownership program, and what they do is they help people that are either looking to receive a modification on their current loan or move forward with the purchase. And the beautiful thing about NACA is they do offer this service that is amazing because there's no closing costs, there's no fees, there's no points, there's no down payment. However, it's a process. It is a process. So I would say, hello? Oh, you froze.
Uh-uh.
I'm like,
Oh,
are
did I
you
see you? Oh no.
I'm like, did she go away? Okay. So yeah, so it's a process. So it's not always the first option I give my clients, but for those people that may not have much, they may not have funds for closing, or they may have, not the best credit. This
Mm-hmm.
particular program doesn't care about your credit at all.
Okay.
You can have like an 800 and I can have like a 400, and we
Mhm.
gonna still get the same benefits. So what it is, it's a counseling program where you go to a workshop. Now there's 50 offices. When I worked for them, I was a manager, then I was a regional manager with them. At that time, it was like 40 offices. Now I believe it's like 50 or more. So people would have to look
Okay.
online to see where the nearest office is for them. There's definitely one in St. Louis. I was over St. Louis and Chicago and like some of the Midwest. So definitely there. But they can look it up, pretty much look for a workshop that they can attend on like a weekend, go to
Mm-hmm.
it, and then they will get paired up with a counselor. The counselor will
Okay.
go through everything with them, look at their affordability, and pretty much give them like a task list of whatever it is they need to do to move forward. But it's great because it's offering all these different benefits, and I can't go into detail, but it's a really good program.
Okay. And it's called NACA.
NACA, it's NACA.
Right. Okay. And for the audience, as always, so what I do for each of the episodes, there's going to be a page on the She Confidential website. And so there will be an episode page for this particular episode. And so I will include links for where y'all can follow Brandi on social media and then also this particular program. So I will circle back with you to make sure I get that link, make sure I have the right link, and then all those
Okay.
links will be included on the episode page so that the audience knows where to find these different resources. So
Yes,
thank you for mentioning that because that's an important one. I love that there's options out there for all types of
for
buyers, no matter where
everybody.
they may be.
Yeah, and there's no income limit for it. It is designed for the low to moderate income people though,
Yeah.
but you can make whatever, dollar amount in it. You won't just be disqualified from the program. So it's a good option for people, especially those people that are like, I really want to buy, but I'm like not in position at all.
Yeah.
And it's a counseling process. So you meet constantly and until you get to the point where you can buy, and they don't turn you away ever. It's just like you're not ready right now, so let's do this, and you just keep working towards getting there. So yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah, that is
Mhm.
excellent. Thank you for mentioning that.
No worries. So
And
we. Oh, go ahead. I'm
oh no,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, you had asked me about what all I offer. So of
Yes.
course, anybody is looking to buy, anybody is looking to sell, anybody is looking to invest, and like I said, I'm partnered with a guy who owns a mentoring program that is doing phenomenal, and I send people to him, and he's really good. Um, Also, anybody who's looking to become an agent as well. We have I'm here in Atlanta and growing a team. And
Yeah.
so, looking to bring people on board here in Atlanta with Keller Williams. It's called the Kristen Cole Network. It's the name of my team. And so, if anybody is interested in real estate, it doesn't have to be here in Atlanta. We have offices all over. And, I took a leap of faith myself. I jumped out and basically decided I don't want the glass ceiling anymore. I was in a
Mm-hmm.
position where I was very stagnant and it was a very toxic environment. And I believe God pretty much said, it's time to go. And so I said 90 days, and 90 days I left, and I have no regrets at all. So it was a bold move, but it was needed.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, so for the people that are like afraid and like, I don't know, I don't want to do this job anymore, and I really want to have unlimited income, there's an opportunity for you to do that. And so I just want to be a resource because, like I said, I've been there, and I haven't. I left when I left that company. Like I mean, this is just a small testimony. Like I haven't been sick since I left there. Like I haven't had a cold or anything, and that's been like a
Um,
few years now. And I think it was because of the stress, you know. And not saying that it's easy growing your business, because it's not. I mean, there's a lot of challenges and things that come with it, but to see that you're doing it for yourself and you're investing in yourself, and the sky's the limit. Anything that you get, you're educating yourself and you're growing, and nobody can take that from you. You're only going to build, to become better and grow your income. It's like it's phenomenal. So anybody that need encouragement, or like just like, hey, I'm thinking about it, like definitely let me know, and I can walk you through and show you some resources. So
yeah, thank you for that. And
yeah,
kudos to you. Thank you for being brave and for sharing that testimony. Yes, thank you
yeah,
for that.
yeah, I was
So,
tired.
where can people follow
Okay.
you on social media?
Okay, so I have an Instagram page, Real Estate by Brandy, and I also have a Facebook page, and you may have to put it in the link because I know I changed
Yeah.
it now. But you can, if you look for my personal page, Brandi Washington. I believe I have a Keller Williams real estate page too. You may just have to like post it because I don't remember it by heart. But I do
Oh,
have
I
a
will.
bus-
Mhm.
yeah, the business page, the Instagram Real Estate by Brandy, and just I guess my phone number. You can contact me directly or email me.
Excellent. And all of Brandy's contact information will be in the description box on the YouTube channel underneath this video if you're watching it on YouTube. And it'll also be in the podcast description box on whatever podcast platform. And it'll also be on SheConfidential.com on the episode page. So there will be three places where you can find all of Brandy's social media information and email and phone numbers. So thank you. Is there any final thought or anything that I didn't ask that you want to share with the audience?
No, I think you cover everything. I just encourage everybody to look at the option for purchasing if you don't already have a property, and if you do, just look at the fact that it can be a good stream of income as an investment property, because we just have to really work on building wealth. I feel like that's something that we're lacking, and people are just so narrow minded with the avenues, and real estate is one of those things that's been around for so long, and it's going to continue to be there. And it's like, if you're looking for options, that is definitely a vehicle.
Yeah,
Definitely.
thank you for that. I'm
Yeah,
so
and
proud
thank you
of
for
you.
having
Oh my
me.
goodness.
It was good
Thank
seeing
you.
you.
Yes, thank you. Everybody, you can go to she.confidential.com or sheconfidential.com for all the details for Brandy and for the resources that we mentioned during this episode. Thank you, Brandy. And I'm Charlene Ketchum. This is She Confidential Podcast. Until next time.